Diolch am ddod heddiw. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for coming today, and for those stalwarts who are still here for a final panel discussion. I'm Justine Wheatley, and I'm chair of WHON. My great privilege to have worked with many of you, and I'm absolutely delighted to have this great panel here this afternoon. I think some of you will know, we're trying very hard. Our aim is to finish earlier today at 4:15. So we're going to just gallop straight into final reflections and next steps from this great panel. And I'm going to go right in there, and they will introduce themselves briefly. Hopefully, we'll just do 2 or 3 minutes and have time for some questions. And it's always important to start with the art. So I'm going to ask, first of all, Ducal Durham to share his reflections with us. Thanks very much, Duke.
Thank you so much. My name is Ducal, and I'm a spoken word poet. First of all, I think this conference has been amazing, bringing so many people together, and supporting the arts in health is just fantastic. I just want to talk about sort of the voices of artists. I think the voices of artists are really important, especially those with lived experience. I think going forward, it'd be nice to hear more artists sharing their lived experience and why that particular art form has helped them, and then see them working with different communities, or I don't know, whether they've got a condition. So I've got type 1 diabetes. I've done a lot of work with people living with type 1 diabetes, for example. Somebody might have a different condition. It'd be amazing if they can start working with people to relate to their condition a bit more. I think having a variety of arts is really important, and I'm sure some art forms may be favoured sometimes more than others. So I think more of a variety of arts is really important, because we're all unique individuals and we're not all going to like the same things. So just, a bit more variety would be amazing. And I think, so diversity as well within the arts is really important, hearing those voices. Wales is multicultural, the UK is multicultural, and some people from certain backgrounds do struggle to, whether it be due to cultural challenges, they struggle to actually go to the NHS or go to the GP. So people within those cultures to share their own experiences is only going to help other people get help as well. And then going forward, myself, I've worked with some really amazing people, but I worked with the Alcohol Liaison Service in Pontypridd, and something that really stood out to me then was that people with addiction, with struggling with alcoholism, they would go to get support to try and get off alcohol, and the alcohol sort of team would say, oh well, you need to go to the mental health services first. And then they would go to the mental health services, and the mental health services would say, oh, we need you really to get to be off alcohol before we can see you. So I think just people need to just work together. The whole system needs to come together and stop being divided in their own little slots. And then finally, I'm working on something really amazing and special with the fantastic Dr. Matt Morgan, who's got 3 amazing books out: Critical, One Medicine, and Second Chance. And we're looking to try and create the first NHS Wales Poet Laureate. So I think that would be really cool going forward. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
That is a fantastic way to end your contribution. Thank you so much, Duke. What an exciting prospect. That's great. So I'm going to introduce Anna Howells from Public Health Wales.
Brilliant. Thank you. And thanks very much for having us as Public Health Wales here today. I was reflecting earlier that I'd been thinking about today as very much a privilege and a treat to be here, which it very much is. But then to push back on that thought and what we've heard earlier today and what we heard from Sir Michael Marmot is to really think about arts and other well-being promoting activities as essential to our health rather than as a nice to have. So really a key thought for us working in health services and health service provision. But going back to my script, 3 quick points that I wanted to make today. The first is our role as a national agency is a lot around kind of collating the evidence base in this space. We talked about that in our workshop earlier, but just one point I wanted to raise was a fact that, we know that engagement with the arts mitigates the impacts of living in low socioeconomic areas, but at the same time, the availability of the arts and these activities are closely tied or more available in affluent areas. And what we can do at the national level and on the local level to address that disparity. Second is a thinly veiled plug, really, for HAPIS. So HAPIS, our aim is to establish mental well-being as a top priority in Wales and to spark a national conversation about this. It's a growing network. We have almost 90 local organisations as part of HAPIS. And I've heard from so many people today and so many organisations that we would love to be a part of the HAPIS programme, so please do check that out. And then thirdly, again, conversations that I've heard today, so relevant to the new mental health and wellbeing national strategy, the 10-year vision for Wales. Prevention plays a key role in that strategy, and particularly in that vision statement 2, but in vision statement 4, which is much more around the health service provision for mental health and wellbeing, actually a huge part or a huge role for the arts and other wellbeing activities to play there too, when we talk about the new model of open access care or stepped care that we're moving towards. And so just a bit of a call to action really for us to think creatively, so very much in the right space for that here today, around how we can collaborate to deliver on the vision of the strategy. Do get in touch with us at Public Health Wales when considering things like funding bids and whether we can put you in touch with partners who are perhaps looking at the same aims and deliverables and whether we can help you in that space too. So those are my 3 key points today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Well, you may be inundated with people getting in touch, but that's a great way to pass on now to a bit of a North Wales perspective, perhaps, from you, Nina.
Yeah. Hi, for those that saw me yesterday, I'm not going to be so random, I hope. I think I drove home last night just realising that the power of the monologue eye, is that the right way I say it? Yep. I thought that was incredible, and I think yesterday I laughed and cried, and that's for me the whole impact of art and culture and just people telling stories and sharing their thoughts. And I cried quite a lot, actually, because and that will stay with me, and that's the power of the arts. And I think that's my lasting thought of this, but of the whole conference. It's been amazing and massive congratulations to you guys. I think I'm all about, okay, so how do we do this stuff? And it's the power of convening, and sometimes you just need, oh, by the way, I'm Nina, by the way, if anyone doesn't, I work at Wrexham. The power of convening cannot be underestimated, and we just need to bring people together to enable these things that we're all talking about. And, the brilliance of having somebody in the NHS that brings the arts into that, and I know Terry's here today. So I think there's something about the power of convening and creating a movement for change where we take a lanyard off and we go, do you know what? This stuff is real. It makes us feel we're all humans and we all have to have kindness at the heart of everything. If we need that now more than ever, that is what we need. And our work to become a trauma-informed university, we're up for working with anyone. So, come and knock on our doors and we'll work with you, because this is all about working with our communities. We're all part of our communities and just making the world a nice place to be, because that's all we want to do in life, isn't it? And our journey in life. So I'm going total off script now again. This is probably what they expected. Sorry, Angela. I think the final thing is, and one of my commitments is, we're working with leaders. I'm the chair of the PSB in Wrexham and Flintshire. For those that don't know, public service boards, Sandy will talk all about that. we're about shifting the dial. Let's just keep it simple. Let's do the stuff that makes an impact. Let's make things happen. That's where we're at. And I think we've done a lot of talking about this stuff. Now it's the time for action. I'm also chair of something called 2025. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a social movement which is about tackling avoidable health inequalities in North Wales, about 600 partners. And I'm talking to all the key leaders at the moment from health and housing and lots of other partners in the region. And I'm saying, well, what's the thing that's really going to shift the dial and support you and be helpful and useful to you and serve the communities together? And we think that's going to be perhaps working at a regional scale with the Marmot region, which I think we're already doing with 2025 because we are a social movement for change, and looking at housing and temporary accommodation. Actually, you need those foundations in life in order to have fulfillment and feel joy. You've got to have that sort of really strong infrastructure to support you. So that's it. And then the final thing is, the panel I had yesterday with the amazing people, everyone's up for working differently, so let's just make it happen. Museums, we've got an MOU, we've got all sorts of things going on, and we're trying to take the museums to people of North Wales, because obviously there is a bit of a difference between 7 down in the south, 1 in the north. So we're really trying to shift the dial a little bit and think differently about, bringing detectorists into a pub and curators to come in and understand artefacts, and let's just think differently, guys. So sorry, that was a bit of a ramble, forgive me. I won't do a cartwheel this time, but thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. I think I missed the cartwheel. Right, well, thank you for the North Wales perspective, and also just touching on all those ideas of innovation and hopefulness. And I'm going to turn over here now first to Catrin Ramasut, who's hopefully will briefly introduce herself from Arts Council of Wales.
Hello.
So, yeah.
Pnawn da, fi yw Catrin Ramasut, cyfarwyddwr y Celfyddydau yn y Cyngor Celfyddydau Cymru, gormod o cuts fyna. Yeah, I'm the Director of Arts for the Arts Council of Wales. I've only been in the position for 10 months, so I'm getting my head around everything that the Arts Council does, and also what the team at Arts Council do around arts, health and well-being, and they're all here representing Sally, Dan, Bex, Eleanor, Kerry, and Prue, who's also from our council. And, they're educating me on all the work that Arts and Health does, and it's amazing. I'm inspired, and the work that they've been building up at the Arts Council, I want to push forward, take that team forward and advocate within Welsh Government. And basically, we need more money to make it possible to do all the things, the amazing things that the artists, the health boards and all the arts coordinators, what the sector are doing is be able to support that work, because it's truly beneficial to everyone. Everyone knows, so I'm kind of stating the obvious there. We had a really good workshop this morning around young people and mental health, and the speakers there have clearly had learnings about co-designing, being patient-led, and going where the health challenges are and the needs are, and actually, prioritising those areas, because we can't do everything. It's just not possible, but we can try. And and also we talked about diversifying the workforce as well, Jude. Like you say, we need more representation. We need different voices enabled to make sure everyone feels included in the joy of art. So that's me.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I hate to bring a kind of more sobering note, but I'm going to turn to Heledd now, and I think you bring so much joy and optimism in the keynote you did with Angela this morning. But I think maybe you've also got a bit of a message about our next steps and the importance of looking forward to what's happening in Wales just now, hopefully, as well, and thinking about next year's Senedd elections. So please feel free to repeat that message. We want everybody to go out and be making sure we're flying the flag. But yeah, Heledd, what are your reflections from these 2 days?
Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi, byddai'n siarad yn Gymraeg os di rwy'n angen cyfieithu. Y peth mwyaf i fi ydy, dych chi'n gwneud gwaith eithriadol o bwysig, dyn ni gyd yn gweld gwerth hynny, Felly sut ydyn ni sicrhau bod y gweithlu yna a'r arian yna i sicrhau lle bynnag ydych chi'n byw yng Nghymru, be bynnag mo'ch cefndir, bod gynnoch chi fynediad i raglenni sy'n mynd i fod yn draws newidiol, bod ni yn edrych o ran yr ochr ataliol, bod ni yn edrych o ran triniaeth ydy mynediad at y celfyddydau a diwylliant. Da ni'n gytun bod hwn yn bwysig ond dio ddim yn digwydd, ond mae angen llywodraeth a mae angen gwleidyddion sydd yn credu yn hyn. Felly'r neges i fi ydy, mi fydd gan bob un plaid gwleidyddol hyd at 96 person yn sefyll mewn etholiad yn Mai nesaf. Mae hynna'n gannoedd o bobl fydd yn curo'ch drysau chi, yn ceisio'ch cael chi i bleidleisio iddyn nhw. Mae nhw'n gannoedd o bobl y medre ni argyhoeddi o werth y gwaith yma. Felly mae o'n bwysig eithriadol bod ni'n gwahodd pobl i ddod i weld y prosiectau, bod nhw'n cwrdd pobl sydd wedi cael y cyfle i fod yn rhan o'ch rhaglenni trawsnewidiol chi, bod nhw yn gweld bod yna werth economaidd i hyn hefyd, heb sôn am yr holl fuddion cymdeithasol. Felly i fi, y peth anodd ydy, da chi mor brysur fel timau bach o bobl yn gwneud eich gwaith pwysig o ddydd i ddydd, yn cwffio am arian, yn trio cadw prosiect i fynd o flwyddyn i flwyddyn. Sut ydyn ni wedyn yn argyhoeddi bod angen buddsoddiad hir dymor yn y gwaith yma, bod angen tyfu'r gweithlu yn un amrywiol. Mae hwnnw drwy fod yn cymryd yr amser allan o'ch dyddiau pwysig chi a prysur chi i fod yn rhannu'r gwaith yma. Felly mae gennym ni gwpl o fisoedd i gael llwyth o bobl yn ymwybodol o prosiectau hyn, i fod yn gaddo bob math o bethau, herwydd maen nhw gyd eisiau'ch pleidlais chi. A os dyn nhw ddim yn gwneud hyn, yna mae yna grwpiau fel y grŵp trawsbleidiol ag ati fydd yn parhau efo'r neges yma, yn gweithio efo'r Cyngor Celfyddydau, yn gweithio efo Public Health Wales, bob un corff, oherwydd mi fedrwn ni newid pethau. Mae angen i bawb gael y cyfle i gael diwylliant a celfyddydau yn ei bywydau. Dim ots be di'ch oed chi chwaith, mi ddyle hwn fod yn opsiwn. Felly neges bositif gobeithio sut ni'n cael mwy o bobl yn ymwybodol, mwy o gyfleoedd, a mae hynna efo'n gilydd. Felly parhewch efo'r gwaith gwych. A dwi yn gobeithio'n fawr, welwn ni fwy o wleidyddion sy'n barod ddim i weiddi beth am yr NHS, ond i weiddi beth am y celfyddydau pan mae'n dod i gyllid yn y dyfodol.
Diolch yn fawr, Heledd, for that call to action. Yes, go out there and tell everybody about your work. And for a real kind of resource of hopefulness, finally, I'm going to turn to Sandy and give us those really exciting visionary perspectives from the Office of the Future Gen Act.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Mae'n fraint, ond hefyd bach yn anodd pob tro i mynd yn olaf ac i ddilyn chi Heledd yn arbennig, roedd hwn yn wych. Diolch. So, dwi'n gweithio gyda Derek Walker, Future Generations Commissioner for Wales. O'n i eisiau dechrau gan dweud, mae'n teimlo'n yn wych i orffen y panel gan dod yn ôl at y thread neu cortyn sy'n teimlo fel mae wedi bod yn gweheddu a plethu trwy'r cynhadledd i gyd, sef meddwl am lles genedlaethau dyfodol. A mae'n teimlo fel meddwl am y gweledigaeth ni'n eisiau rhoi y dyfodol wedi fod yn really fyw trwy gydol pob sesiwn yn ystod y 2 dydd. Hefyd, o'n i eisiau diolch i'r tîm Wahwn ac i pawb sydd wedi cymryd rhan yn y presentations a'r gwaith dau a wedi rannu a'u profiad byw a'u gwaith nhw, achos mae'n teimlo fel y holl cynhadledd. I fi mae'n teimlo fel mae wedi fod y deddf genedlaethau y dyfodol ar waith. Mae pob dim wedi fod am atal, prevention. Ni wedi clywed am pwysigrwydd cynnwys pobl yn creu dyfodol nhw a'r pwysigrwydd mae creadigrwydd a celfyddydau yn gwneud yn hwnna. Hefyd, mae'n teimlo fel y cynhadledd wedi cael ei gwneud mewn ffordd sydd yn rili ddilys i'r deddf hefyd, a fel chi wedi creu gofod saff a creadigol i ni cyd creu fel cymuned gyda gilydd. So mae hwn yn really lyflu. Hefyd, dwi'n rannu be mae ti wedi dweud am, we've all been moved several times to tears in a way. We've laughed, we've cried, we've danced, diolch Tonya. So yeah, it feels that sense of community and the collaboration that is so important to delivering on the Act has really been a live principle through the Cynhadledd. So earlier, in terms of next steps, as we heard earlier, Sir Momot mentioned the recommendations in the Commissioner's report that came out earlier this year. So many of those, there are 50 recommendations, many of them are cross-cutting, some of them are relevant specifically to health and culture, but as we've heard, one of those is for Wales to become a Momot nation, and we're delighted. It's very encouraging. Welsh Government have already committed to that, which is fantastic. One of the other strong recommendations that the Commissioner has made, and this is a theme that I've heard again and again in sessions throughout the conference, is the need for more longer-term thinking and budgeting, and also more preventative approaches to budgeting. And that's a recommendation that we're following up at a national level, but also with individual public bodies. Building on what Helen has already said about how do we make sure that the resources are there for culture and that the vital projects, services and cultural assets in our communities can be sustained. One of the things that we've been recommending around that is for there to be a culture bill in Wales. So it's fantastic that Wales is world-leading in having legislated to have culture as part of the way we view sustainability. We're the only country in the world to have done this, and that is fantastic. But we know it's not enough. We heard a really powerful call to arms yesterday gan Gwenna Mair, daeth I siarad am ei gwaith hi yn Theatr Clwyd, a fel roedd hi yn ddweud, ni'n byw trwy gydol mwy nag un argyfwng, ni'n byw mewn byd polycrisis, a mae'n mwy bwysig nag erioed ni'n mynd i atal ar y problemau yna trwy gydol y celfyddydau. So we'll be doing some work with partners and seeking input from stakeholders over the next few months to create a green paper looking at what legislation for culture might look like. We're also going to be finalising some work on guidance for public bodies around working with creatives and freelancers, because we think the more that people across all different parts of our public services who maybe aren't from an arts background can work with creative practitioners in their work, then that will be of benefit across all of the wellbeing goals. Felly, o'n i eisiau just orffen gan ar nod bersonol eto, gan meddwl am y teimlad mae'r cynhadledd yma wedi creu. Mae wedi bod yn lyflu, mae eisiau gymaint o'r cynhadledd wedi mynd trwy'r gyfrwng Cymraeg. Mae wedi teimlo'n rili naturiol i glywed a siarad Cymraeg sydd yn lyflu. Ond pan o'n i'n meddwl am y teimlad, neu un gair mae'r cynhadledd yma wedi creu fi, mae y gair yn oedd cariad. A dwi'n credu dyna sydd ar gwreifyn y deddf cenedlaethau a dyfodol ar y ffordd, y 5 ffordd i weithio. Ni wedi clywed pobl yn siarad am cariad at y celfyddydau, am ei gwaith, cariad at ein cymunedau a'n gilydd, ond dwi'n credu mae celfyddydau a creadigrwydd yn aml yn y dull o mynegu cariad. So dwi'n meddwl mae hwn wedi dod i fyw trwy'r hyn ni wedi clywed. A mae wedi creu teimlad o gobaith, ni'n meddwl, byddwn ni'n mynd â gyda ni. So I just wanted to, very final thought, just by sharing some wisdom that we heard in the session earlier that Emily chaired from the Multicultural Hub. We had a fantastic, inspirational talk gan Mufakela, and I can't spot you where you are in the room, Mufakela, but at one point you said that the past is not an identity when you're encouraging people to think about what they can do and how we can change and the change we can bring in the world. I really like that. I thought the past is not an identity, but I think that the future is and can be. And you said that a creative life is a happy life. So, diolch I chi.
Five minutes. Well, Are there really 5 minutes? Does anybody have any questions for the panel, just quickly? I have some thanks I want to make as well. So is there anybody? It's quite difficult for me to see. Any questions? I can't see anybody. Well, I'm going to go and move on to my thank yous. And first of all, I know that Angela will be up here in a minute to tell you all of this, but what a privilege it is for me to be chair of this network. And through my career in the past 20, 25 years, I've worked with many of you, and I know that we all share this sense of common purpose and that carry out that love for what we do. My colleagues, they're some of my most precious relationships, and I value them all the more now that I've retired from full-time leading an arts organisation. So thank you to all of you. I want to say thank you to our panellists. It's been great to have met and connected with you. I'm going to just give a little bit of shout out to our partners and funders, Betsy Cadwallader University Health Board, to Public Health Wales, to Wrexham University. What a fabulous venue. Thank you so much for hosting us, and for all the help of the team. It's just been wonderful. And to Arts and Business Cymru, and of course to Arts Council of Wales, whose investment in us has made really helping so much to flourish in Wales. And then I just want to say a shout out, of course, to Angela Rogers. What a star. I'm so privileged to work with her. Tracy, Becca, Leah also, thanks for all your help, and to everybody who's led and delivered workshops. And now I'm going to hand over to Angela. Thanks all of you very much.
I haven't really got very much more to add, but just to thank Justine and all the trustees of Wahoon as well, who I forgot to mention yesterday, but they are phenomenal and really help with the strategic visioning of Wahoon. So Justine as our chair, Joseph Conran, Becky Harvard, Jane Boone, help me out here, Sarah Goody, I think Sarah's still here, Dr. Kath Jenkins, yeah. Still room on the board for more. But yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you to all of you for coming and making it so special. But I think my biggest thanks are to Tracy, because where's Tracy? Come up, Trace. Might cry. Oh God. This wouldn't have happened without Tracy. We've had a few meetings, we've kind of collaborated a bit, but really this conference has been programmed by Tracy so expertly, and the feedback I've been hearing over the last few days has been phenomenal. I owe most of this to you. And it is an emotional day because this is Tracy's really last day of working with Wahoon as a freelancer, other than the kind of mopping up at the end of the conference. And I just want to thank you amongst all our friends. It's just absolute pleasure and privilege to be working with you. And you said yesterday, this is your farewell party.
In my head.
Yeah. If anybody gets an opportunity to work with Tracy as a freelance consultant practitioner, you'll be in very good hands. It's been an honour, so thank you. Take a bow. Just finally thank you all. Have a really safe journey back. We're going to have a September network meeting. We're going to kind of revisit some of the themes and the calls to action that we've heard about over the last couple of days. So if you haven't already, please sign up to Wahoon, where you'll get a regular kind of newsletter. You can join our network meetings. You can upload a member profile and kind of be visible amongst our sector. So do keep in touch.